Are you making time to be curious? Welcome to KIRSTIcast, the show where we hope to illuminate, entertain, and engage our listeners, helping them create the life they want. I'm your host, Kirsti Manna. Hello, everyone, and welcome to KIRSTIcast. I'm Kirsti Manna. So glad you're here with us on the show. And I think we're on to episode number 17. I cannot believe how fast these weeks have flown. You know, when the whole COVID thing started, I became really curious about starting a podcast. I had done a podcast a few years ago, but I really wanted to check it out again. And so Bill and I began to really explore some ideas and some ways that we could bring a podcast to you. And speaking of Bill is here with me today, the mad scientist. This is the 5th week we've actually allowed Bill to have a microphone. He's doing okay with it, don't you think? So we thought, maybe we would let him have it.
I haven't had it taken away yet.
He hasn't embarrassed me yet. So hopefully that won't happen today. But I hope you are enjoying the podcast and checking it out on one of the many platforms where you can listen, like Spotify or iHeartRadio or Amazon or Apple. And also, if you want to watch the video of the podcast, you can check me out at Songwriter Girl 1 channel, and that's on YouTube. And as I said last week, Bill, I'm not a huge YouTube watcher. I'm getting better. I start to go down the rabbit hole with YouTube. And this is what happens with so many people because so many of us are really curious. And I love the Italian word for being curious. It's curiosita. Bill, say that with me. Curiosita.
Curiosita.
Oh, come on. You can lay on the Italian.
Curiosita.
See, I knew he could do it because he lived so long in Youngstown, Ohio, that eventually that kind of stuff rubs off on you, even if you're an Italian. Well, anyway, I wanted to share this book with you guys, How to Think Like Leonardo DaVinci. And it's by Michael, let me make sure you can see his name, Michael Gelb, G-E-L-B. And I hope that you are going to go check this book out. It's such a great book because it teaches and helps you follow some of the examples and principles of living that Leonardo da Vinci used in his life. And so certainly you know what curious means. Curiosita is a principle referring to Leonardo da Vinci, and it is the curiosity for life and an unrelenting quest for continuous learning. I love that. I think that's so great. And that is something that I think is really important about being curious, is learning. Is there something that you are really curious about, but you really don't know enough about it? Well, for Pete's sake, you can go and you can read books on it. Or maybe it's something like learning how to play flamenco guitar. I don't know. Well, you can go and you can take some lessons. And Bill, what do you think about these online guitar lessons? Do you think they're good?
I think they work pretty well. I've never been involved in any, but I hear good things. And well, back to YouTube.
Right.
That's a great resource of lessons. For instance, guitar lessons and just about anything else you can imagine.
Anything you can imagine. And so there's something that, maybe you can check it out on YouTube. You can, then you don't even have to invest any money. You can go see if it's something you really feel passionate about before you would invest in maybe buying a guitar, or a costume that you're going to need to be a flamenco. I'm just kidding. You don't need to do that. Okay. So, one of the biggest things about being curious is it can be really challenging. And one way that it can be challenging is because you can become afraid to be curious. And oh my goodness, you never want to be having fear going on when you're being curious, because I really feel like it's great to challenge yourself. I think it's good for your head, to explore things that give you joy or that you're curious about, to try to do that. One of the biggest things that I think people get curious about is speaking another language. I was really curious about learning to speak Spanish when I was in school, in high school especially. And I went to different contests and things like that, where you had to learn Spanish poems and you got up and recited them. And it was kind of neat. So don't be afraid to be challenging yourself when you want to be curious. I think that's really important. One of the biggest questions that I get asked as a songwriter is, how do I keep thinking of ideas? And I think it has to do with being really curious about other people's lives. And I obviously can't live everybody else's life. I can't, go around the world. I don't have enough time in my life to go and see how other people live other places, but I can use my imagination about relationships, about different things that people go through in life, and that can give me ideas to write. As I've mentioned before, and Bill knows this, I get so many ideas from movies. And one of my favorite movies that gave me so many inspired ideas about songs was Jerry Maguire. And, what was the line that Dorothy says in Jerry Maguire? All I want to do is be inspired. And think about it in your own life. Isn't that a big thing for you? How can anybody say they're bored if they've never taken any time to really think about being inspired? So I challenge you this week to sit down and write 3 things that you're really inspired about. And it might be something that could be a real positive force in your life, something that could really open up a new world for you. You can meet new people by challenging yourself with being inspired, by being creative. You can really challenge yourself to learn new things that, maybe scare you. I love that. I love learning things that scare me. Another thing is to make sure that you get out of your comfort zone a little bit. That's another big thing about higher learning. So many of us maybe quit taking lessons or studying a specific subject. When you get out of college or get out of school, you're busy working your job and everything. Take some time and see if there's something that you could go at for some higher learning. Go with your gusto, really put your shoulder into it and give it some time, because, it's hard to learn something new and it's not going to happen overnight. Another thing I wanted to mention was your passion. Look at what you're interested in doing, maybe kind of programs you're interested in watching, maybe the kind of things you like to go do with friends. Those are things probably that you're really passionate about. And I think so many of us tend to forget what we're passionate about. Again, back to your 5-year-old. That was a person when you were 5 years old who really probably had passion for something, and you weren't afraid to try it, even if it made you look silly, because it just was so much fun to do. It gave you so much joy. I hope those tips are going to help you in regards to finding more curiosita in your life. And don't go away. We're going to be right back with the Shero Spotlight. Stay tuned for the Shero Spotlight. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Shero Spotlight. And I'm so excited today to have a friend. I've only known this person for a few years, but we really hit it off. And so we'll probably be talking for 2 hours. No, I'm kidding. We always have a lot to say to each other. But let me tell you a little bit about her. She's the CEO and founder of Synapse Publishing and Entertainment LLC, and she's been a performer, a dancer. She's an innovator, a musician, a speaker, award-winning author, and a serial entrepreneur. I love that. I'll have to ask her what that means. She's founded and led multiple international businesses, developing software, managing large product and marketing teams over the past 35 years. But her company now creates and provides original music and lyrics with staff songwriters and musicians, and they've formed unique partnerships and alliances with multiple artists, producers, arrangers, and publishing licensors across genres to provide music and sound in a boutique fashion to fit the vision of each individual project. She's been getting involved in music and film and TV lately, so I hope she tells us a little about that too. And her team has provided original music for lots of film and theater, such as Heavens to Betsy 2, and the theme song for an original screenplay, The Waiting Room. She works with recording artist Andrew Salgado, who, that's how I met her, actually was through him, and represents an expert level roster of award-winning music creators and who are representing over 100 years of music industry experience. So please welcome to the Shero Spotlight, Darice G.
Hello, Kirsti. How are
Yeah.
you?
I'm good. Welcome. I'm so glad you could come today and be here.
I'm excited.
I love your setting with your piano and everything. That's very nice.
Yeah.
I love it. So I wanted to ask you first, what inspired you with all these things that you were doing? What inspired you to get into the world of publishing? Because publishing's tough. What made you want to do that?
It is. And a lot of people think it's really boring too, because it's all that licensing and legal stuff and all the behind the scenes business stuff.
Right.
But to answer that question, it really addresses your serial entrepreneur question for me, because I started my first business back when I was 14 years old. And when
Wow.
I think about it now, I think about the fact that it was really a publishing business. You're going to laugh at this
Oh my
because
gosh. I want to hear it.
I was living in New York at the time, and at 14, I was like, how can I get some money to do stuff? And I was babysitting at that time, dogs and children.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I remember listening to the moms talk about how busy they were and that they didn't have time and they couldn't come up with all the fun games that the babysitters did. And I thought to myself, I think they need a newsletter. And so
Wow.
I created a little newsletter that actually had arts and crafts for different age kids, had stories about what the kids were doing or working on, stories about their pets, ideas of the latest books that were out that they could read. And I hand drew the pictures in this little
That's so creative.
Thanks. And they didn't have real copy machines at that time, so I had to go find a Mimeo machine.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I remember those things. I remember those in elementary school, and they'd have the ink,
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So I made a newsletter and I sold it door to door in the whole neighborhood. We lived in a townhouse development, and I sold that for like a quarter. And then I got a bunch of babysitting jobs out of it.
Wow.
So you fast forward that, and many businesses later, from different consulting and software businesses and marketing and different things, I was always involved with music and arts. As you read, I was a dancer, I was a singer, I was a musician, I played the piano, I did a lot of different things, but it was always really in a hobby sense. And so when I made the decision, it was actually after an injury that I had, I made the decision to get into the backside of the business, not on stage anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And in there, I thought, well, I really have an interest in acting because I spent, 40 years in different plays and musicals and things. So I want to be able to take music and put it into film and theater and things like that. And I knew it was a long path and I had to learn a lot of things. So I created a company that was involved in events and in musicians and management and songs. And I said, I want to build my own catalog. I want to do it my way. And I want to work with the people I want to work with. And so thus became the publishing event and publishing and entertainment. I didn't want just publishing. Mm-hmm. So it's become a very unique thing for me. But I think it all started with that 14-year-old newsletter.
That is really great. Well, and it's so funny when you think back about something in your own career, because I'll get asked a question about something in my life, and you think about something that you did when you were really young that is really impacting to you, that you it's kind of like you're shaping yourself, and right. You don't realize you're doing it. Well, what is it about an artist that makes you want to work with them? What are some things that excites you about an artist, that you meet somebody new?
Well, I think the people who are outside the publishing business, and maybe those who are in it too, think it might be one thing, like they have to have X number of songs, or they have to have X number of fans, or they have to be in this type of genre music that I'm looking for. It's really not one thing. It's actually who I feel comfortable working with. Do they have projects that I'm interested in? Are their belief system, their whole way they conduct themselves, and the type of things they're involved in, what kind of person they are? Are they right. Loyal? Are they honest? Integrity is very important to me in this business. There are a lot of things that aren't based on integrity in the world, and I felt I wanted to do it a different way. And so I'm very selective, and I'm not on the hunt searching for an artist. I'm really waiting till that magic happens through networking. I'm a very social person, so this is the longest I've been off a plane in my entire life, I think, and so it's very much a social. But I've actually found during this pandemic that Zoom and similar meeting types have actually made the personal touch even better.
I
Because
agree.
you go to a party sometime, you know, you don't know anybody, you have to wait till somebody introduces you. And I belong to the AIMP, which is a publishing group.
Right.
And
I belong to that too.
yeah, I've been to meetings in New York, and I've been to meetings in Nashville, and I've been to meetings in LA, but it's hard to meet as many people because you can only afford to go and be at the same place at the same time.
Right.
This brings this over directly to you. I've had a wonderful experience, and I really view that as a plus for what we're going through right now.
Well, and I agree with that. And I think it's interesting, even in writing appointments that I've had, how the focus is different. Because I found for myself, I get distracted easy. But I found that it's interesting to be by myself in a room, but be with other people. And sometimes the challenge is, of course, if Zoom doesn't work that well that day, and you know there's some kind of latency with the singing or the playing. But it's really interesting, and also the commute's easy.
It is, and it's a money saver too. While we're
Yeah.
not bringing in as much live performance entertainment things, and production of film and TV has slowed, obviously.
Yeah.
I think that it's brought a different element of working together with people that we were desperately in need of.
Yeah.
So I've actually enjoyed a lot of the behind the scenes. People keep saying, "Isn't this miserable? I can't wait to get back." And I'm kind of like, you know, I think there's some neat stuff going on here. So I'm excited about it.
I completely agree. Well, with all the things you've done, and we were talking about it a little before we came on, if you could pick one aspect of the entertainment business that you haven't tackled yet, what would it be?
This makes me laugh because I said I was making a list of all the things I've done, and I think I've touched like probably 99%, but the one thing I didn't do yet is be on a podcast, and here we are. So thank you, Kirsti, for that. So now I can officially say I've been involved with the podcast.
Oh, that's good. Well, you could have your own podcast. You have so much. You're a great talker, and you have a lot of stuff to share.
Thank you so much. And not many people say you're a great talker, but I like that. I had a background in college in speech communication, and I ended up getting my certification as a national certified speaker. I've done keynotes all over the country and different things, and it was interesting. I've done it in several different industries, and I was lucky enough to speak at the Toronto International Film Fest last year.
Oh, yeah. Did you have a good time up there?
It was wonderful, and in fact, it's going on in a virtual way again this year. So I'm excited to see, and being able to be a speaker in a professional and use it as coaching for obviously your songwriter girl coaching class. Those kind of things are so much fun for me. So it does pull again skills from a long time ago into what I do. But podcasts would be fun. I think my plate's kind of full right now. So.
Yeah. Well, podcast takes time. It does, but it is a lot of fun because you get, I love this part of it, of course, is getting to interview people that I know and respect, and some people that I don't know that well. And so it's always fun to get to meet people and talk to them about what they're doing creatively, because that's the big thing for me is I just, I always want to try to inspire people to be creative no matter what they want to do, And
you're such
really,
a good host.
Oh, well, thanks.
I have listened to your podcast, not every single one, but I've listened to a number of them, and I'm really enjoying it. It's very inspirational.
Well,
and I have to tell you, I love the Shero song so much. I'm going to make sure I look where that can go.
Oh, thank you. Well, I wrote that with my friend Roxanne Charette, and she and I sang on the track, and so when I decided to do this Shero Spotlight interview and call it that, I thought, oh my gosh, I got a theme song. This is perfect, because it's always great to have a theme song.
I love it. I really do. I've enjoyed listening to it. So.
Well, I ask all of my guests to tell a stay inspired story, and what I mean by that is to tell us a story, tell the listeners and myself a story, something about your life, and it doesn't have to be about music or your career. It could be something that really inspired you, that's really impacted you in your life, that's stayed with you?
I'm going to answer it two different ways for you, okay?
Okay.
Because I'll first answer a specific incident. I'm going to talk more about music. So for a specific incident, I mentioned I was injured about 5 years ago. And it really had a profound effect on changing my life, because at the same time, somebody close to me had also passed away. And it was a very down time for me. I physically had some impairments that I knew were going to be lifelong, type affecting in walking and things like that.
Wow.
And I felt that it was sort of depressing, because I had been a very active person, and I thought, how am I going to do the same things I'm always going to do? And that's when I made that light bulb decision to change paths and take what I love to do, because somebody had actually inspired me. My father had inspired me to take a chance and take what had been a hobby and fun and turned it into my next serial entrepreneur business. And
Cool.
he sparked something in me to allow me to do that. And it has been a wonderful change. It is absolutely inspiring to me and to other people who think that if they've done something in a different area that they can't change, stop where they're at, even after 30 some years of doing something, and go a different way.
Yeah.
But for music specifically, I would like to say that inspiration, I believe, has to come every single day. It's kind of like a baseball player. When you get up and you go to bat, you might have had a really bad game the day before and you struck out 3 times.
Right.
When you get up to bat, you better have that same belief and willingness
Yes.
to take the stand and look that pitcher in the eye and take a swing. Because if you're sitting back and you expect something's just going to happen, inspiration really only comes from within. Somebody can give you a spark of an idea, but I do believe that for people out there, particularly today in the music industry when things are tough right now, that you have to find that inspiration in every single day. Get to that point. And I believe that also takes me to inspiration word, and I think you're going to ask me that. So,
well, I will in a second. Well, I was going to say, I've had friends say to me, wow, you still write so many songs. How do you keep thinking of all these ideas? I don't know. I just think it's the thing of what you said a minute ago. It's about believing that every day that you go to the plate, whatever your plate is, you go to bat, so to speak, that you have something that you can share and something that you really need to say. And I feel bad for people, and this is part of why I'm doing this podcast, is because I want people to really be kicked in the butt creatively, because I believe all people are creative beings. And some of us are just fortunate that we had people in our lives that were a real team for us, that really encouraged us. And so, I feel like part of why I'm put on earth is to be an encourager to people.
You are. You definitely
Thank
are.
you. But you are too. And you know what I mean by that. It's like seeing something in somebody else and really, encouraging them to not tell them what to do, but encourage them to go after it and keep checking back and see how they're doing, especially the people that are really special to me.
Right.
I'm always checking back with them,
Following their dreams.
Yes. So what project are you working on now, or projects? What have you got cooking, even in this COVID thing? I know you've probably got some stuff going.
I got a ton of stuff going, but I'm going to tell you the one that excites me the most right now. And I it's almost a little tiny plug for it too. But it's a project called We Get Music and We Get Artists. And it brings together a lot of what I am interested in right now, which is a new way for music to be discovered, a new way for music to be listened to, a better reimbursement system for producers and musicians to write some of the equities where streaming lets off. And I have, been part of this beta team that's testing this. It's going to be launched very soon. And it brings together a lot of the software skills that I had in my past life, developing software and working with teams into this. And here's another connection, right? You don't know what door is going to open one day. Suddenly, here was this door to allow me to assist in this project. And I'm very excited. So anybody who's interested can either contact me or go to wegetartists.com. Artists with the S, wegetartists.com, and look at it and see what you think of it. But that's probably my most fun thing I'm working on right now.
That sounds interesting. I'll have to check that out. Well, we're running out of time. I have a few more questions, and one is, what is your power word?
My power word, and it's been this way since I was a kid, is perseverance.
All right.
Perseverance to me means that same thing I talked about in inspiration. You get up day after day and you make the lemonade out of the lemons and you find new paths. And again, with the whole pandemic, we've had to all make new paths. My year is completely different than where it started in February.
Right.
And I'd had to alter and do something virtual for helping charities, something virtual for coaching people, something virtual for artists performing, something virtual with a festival that I was helping relocate from Houston to Chicago, and all these different things that were very exciting, but physically, and the movies, the 2 movies I'm working on right now with people, everything had to pause, be shifted, recalibrated, and perseverance gets you through anything. Tenaciousness, like a dog biting a bone where you don't let go, is the only way you can achieve your dreams.
Yeah.
And so really excited about that word.
I love that word. I think it's really important in the list of things, under the word of being positive, under the phrase of being positive, staying positive. Perseverance is a big one. It's the never give up-edness, just raging against the machine, whatever you want to call it, rock on, that kind of stuff. So I think that's great. So if you were going to finish this sentence, the thing I'm most grateful for today is, what would your answer be?
It takes an audio visual for this one, right?
Oh, okay.
My new grandson.
Oh, I'm glad you brought him up. Oh.
My little grandson's going to be, my first grandchild's going to be 6 weeks old tomorrow.
Oh.
And what I'm really blessed and grateful for that is because not only has being at home more, not on the road like I am, flying coast to coast all the time, been important to bond with family. And even though they're in another state with the baby, my mother and my mother-in-law are both still alive and got to see a great-grandchild.
Oh, that's great.
That is so special. And having that family presence around, and I know you know how important it is. And I know you lost your mom last year. And I think that I'm just so pleased. It's brought a whole new dimension to my thinking and reflecting on things. And I know I'm way too young to have a grandchild.
You are very young to have a grandchild. I was going to mention that.
Not as young as you think, but I am loving him, and he's just a doll. So gratefulness is my daily mantra right now. That's
so good. So did your mom and your mother-in-law get to physically go see him?
They did. Each of us took a long road trip, driving about 8 hours round trip for the 10 minutes with a mask on to hold and pose with a picture. We couldn't not meet the baby.
Oh, that's
so it might be a while till we see him again, but it's such a joy and a blessing that life can come out of so much craziness right now and illness. So he'll be talking about this as he grows up. I'm sure it'll be something in the history book. Yeah,
well, he's really a pretty baby. I've seen his picture and he's sweet. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. I said I'm going to be the cool grandma. I'm going to be the one that says, "Rock on, come on the tour."
Yeah. You'll be putting him to work. He'll be 6 years old. You'll have him out there doing something,
Roadie.
That's so great. Well, Darice, I want to thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it. And if anybody, we've heard you say they can go to wegetartists.com. Is there anywhere else people can find you, or social media, or anywhere?
Yeah, they won't find me on We Get Artists. That's just the project I'm working on. They can find me on either Instagram or Facebook at Synapse Publisher, or my webpage, which is synapsepublishing.com. So take a look out there, and everything you need to know about our artists and about what we're working on and the events we're going to is out there. But anybody can ding me on Instagram and Facebook too.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to be here today and for sharing the adorable picture of your grandson. And congratulations on your We Get Artists project. Good luck with everything. I know you'll be cranking away for the rest of 2020.
Thank you. I am so honored to be a Shero and
You're welcome.
To be interviewed by you. This was a lot of fun, and I wish you a lot of luck. I'm going to keep cheering you on.
Thank you, Darice. All right.
You're my Shero, more than a hero, and I look up to you every single day. Every day, my celebration, my inspiration is to be like you, but in my own way. You're my Shero, more than
Welcome, everybody, back to the Nash segment. It's one of my newest segments here at KIRSTIcast. And before I go on, I certainly want to say thanks to Darice G of Synapse Publishing for being our Shero Spotlight guest today, and also to Roxanne Charette, who helped me write You're My Shero, our Shero Spotlight theme song, and sang that track with me. I so miss you, Roxanne, and look forward to singing with you again soon. Well, Music City's brand, as you can imagine, is music. And so many visitors come to Nashville because they want to be a part of that music vibe. And there's so many different kinds of music that you can experience here when you come to Nashville. You know, bluegrass, rock, R&B, country, certainly, and songwriters. I mean, where are you going to go in the world but come to Nashville, Tennessee and get to hear wonderful songwriters? And one place that's really going to show you all the fabulous things that you can do, from restaurants to venues to museums to events, is when you go and visit the official tourism site for Nashville, and that's the visitmusiccity.com website. It is an amazing website. It's just so deep in all the things that you can see that are offered here in Nashville. You know, whether you want to visit virtually or whether you want to plan a trip and come here physically, you are going to find ideas visiting this site. Well, I told you last week, and you might have forgotten, or you may just be coming to see us for the first time this week, or hear us for the first time this week, about this wonderful place on visitmusiccity.com called Music City Brand Champions. Well, I love this place on this website. It's so cool because they're focusing on businesses that have really learned how to integrate music and art into their day-to-day activities and into their organization. So one of the Music City brand champions is a wonderful art museum, and I hope if you visit Nashville, you check it out. It's called the Frist Art Museum, and it's on Broadway. And it's such a great place. Bill and I have been there many times, and it is a nonprofit art museum. And so they have all kinds of really cool visual art from local, state, and national levels, regional artists. They also have a really beautiful gift shop. Ladies, I know you might want to go shopping. You know, museum gift shops are the best place to buy gifts, right, Bill? Because I know you've bought me so many gifts there.
I usually sit down during that part of the museum visit.
He goes and takes a little break on that part of it. But anyway, their team has gone above and beyond the call of duty in bringing different music for programming at the Frist Art Museum. And some of their examples of music have included something called Frist Fridays. And it's a quarterly event that allows live music performances to go on. And you can go there and check out these live music performances and also check out the interactive galleries. And I think they still have a cafe there. They would have music at the cafe, and it's a free live showcase is what they call it. And that also features artists from eclectic groups of musical genres, like the Jazz Workshop. Nashville Jazz Workshop has had performances there. And I know also songwriters. They've had an educational series featuring a lecture and performance that highlights a major figure or period in jazz history. And I love that. The Nashville Jazz Workshop is another place we're going to be spotlighting soon, because that is a really, really cool place and a real hidden gem here in Nashville. So if you're visiting, I hope that you're going to stop by the Frist Art Museum. And Bill and I had a really cool experience there one time. Bill, you had a brush with greatness.
I did. I'm still getting over it.
Well, we were there at the Art Museum one Sunday, and we saw Keith Urban, and we also saw Nicole Kidman.
Yes.
And so that was a thrill because they're such cool people. And I love how everybody in Nashville, there's no paparazzi really in Nashville, I don't think. Everybody just lets the artists live their lives and enjoy Nashville like we all do too. So it was really nice to see them there enjoying the Frist on that Sunday. So I hope you are going to go and check out visitmusiccity.com's site and see what fun things there are for you to do when you either visit Nashville virtually or decide to plan a trip here physically. I hope I'm going to meet you downtown somewhere, hanging out in Nashville. If you recognize me, you better make sure you say hi if you're listening to this podcast. I would love to meet you somewhere in Nashville hanging out. All right, we're going to be right back with Meow Not Bow Wow.
Meow Not Bow Wow. Meow Not Bow Wow. Meow Not Bow Wow. Meow Not Bow Wow.
Well, welcome to one of my favorite segments, Meow Not Bow Wow, where I get to talk about cats. And I know a lot of you out there listening are cat lovers. And, if you have a cat, you know that cats really get the whole thing of curiosita. They have an insatiable appetite for learning about all kinds of things that they aren't usually supposed to get into.
Well,
right, Bill?
as the saying goes, it can be fatal.
It's not good sometimes for cats, exactly. Well, anyway, cats are really curious, and so I thought I would explore a little bit as to why cats are so curious. And here's what I found out, is that cats genetically are curious because of hunting. They need to eat a lot during the day, and so anything that moves, a cat is going to go and explore and be curious about because it might be lunch. And also, a lot of us have cats and cats like to hide, right, Bill? I mean, think about our cat Chili. If there was ever a cat that liked to hide, she finds every hiding place you can think of. And, it drives you crazy sometimes when you're trying to find your cat, especially if you go to the vet and they're hiding and, of course, they're probably watching you call them a million times.
I call it the Fortress of Solitude.
The Fortress of Solitude, which is what Henry loves to get into. But anyway, cats love to hide because this also has to do with their curiosity about their prey. So if they hide and they're very quiet and they're very curious and mindful, as we talked about last week, of the moment, they can probably spot something that they could have for lunch. So I thought that was really interesting. Now, because we're talking about Curiosita and Leonardo da Vinci, I want you guys to go and check out some of the drawings that Leonardo da Vinci did of cats. He really enjoyed watching cats and watching their varying moods and postures. And so he drew a lot of pictures of them. And his quote was, "The smallest feline is a masterpiece." And so a cat, you'll see cats appearing in at least 11 of his drawings. I don't really think they really know, Bill, if Leonardo da Vinci really kept cats as pets, but he did love to draw them. So, and I noticed he didn't really draw any cats that were big. They were all little. So I wonder if maybe they're kind of kittens or something.
Maybe he was too busy making stuff. He didn't have time for the litter box cleaning.
He probably
that's necessary.
He probably didn't. That's not a good way to spend your time, people. Not a good creative way to spend your time cleaning a litter box. All right. Well, I want to say thank you so much for being with us today. It's so great to know that you guys are liking, listening, and downloading KIRSTIcast. Please share it with your friends, and don't forget to go to YouTube Songwriter Girl 1 and watch. She left without leaving a number. Said she needed to clear her mind. That's just a little bit of my song, Austin. I hope you're going to go check me out on Spotify with KIRSTIcast and also listen to my music there. You could also find me on YouTube. If you'd love to ask me a question, please email me at info@songwritergirl.com. I want to thank my sponsors, WarnerWorks.net. Also, Music Pays My Rent. Hope you're going to be back with us next week here on KIRSTIcast. We're going to welcome another special Shero Spotlight guest. I'm not going to tell you who that's going to be because I want you to come and check it out. Hope you're going to have a really amazing creative week. And whatever you do, stay inspired. See you next time. You've been listening to KIRSTIcast.